Hey guys, KiramidHead here, just getting back to you, and I wanted to mention that just like with the Magneto episode, I completely forgot to do my usual plugs for the Gambit episode, so I just wanted to inform you that, as I usually do, if you have any questions and want to contact the show, please send an email to screenplayarchaeology@outlook.com. If you like this subject matter and you want to check out shows with a similar approach, check out the Shelf Film Podcast as well as the Table Reads Podcast. The links will be down below. Also, check us out on social media at Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. And also, I wanted to point out that my bonfire campaigns have been relaunched. So if you want the Hellraiser inspired shirt, go to bonfire.com/screenplay-archaeology-1. And if you want the Jurassic Park inspired shirt, go to go to bonfire.com/screenplay-archaeology-muldoon, and you can get that shirt. So please go ahead and check those out. And also, before this episode gets started, I just want to quickly apologize because there were some technical difficulties and CK sounds a little weird and sometimes drops out, sometimes being often, but I feel like I carry the episode well enough and he is understandable enough that it's perfectly fine. By my standards, at least. I don't know about yours. So keep all that good stuff in mind that I just mentioned and carry on and enjoy the show. All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Screenplay Archaeology Podcast. I'm your host, KiramidHead.
Hey, what's up? I'm back. It's CK. Hey.
Yeah, who might sound like a robot occasionally thanks to some technical issues we've been having, but I am bound and determined to record this no matter what.
Yeah, I can't help it. Inner programming's coming out, but we'll try. We're going to get through this, and I have to talk about it because this is kind of great.
Yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about Gambit, the planned X-Men spin-off movie in what was supposed to be the third part of the Countdown to Dark Phoenix, but we took so long getting this off the ground that all three came out after the movie. And it's a spin-off focusing on X-Men member and mutant Gambit. And I'll give the plot synopsis sort of right off the bat. It's basically a heist movie set in New Orleans in the early mid 80s, where him and his crew get hired by a mysterious third party to steal this metal trunk from the Boudreaux gang in the middle of the Thieves' Ball, which is this big party and auction and territory thing. And not everything is going to turn out as it seems, and not quite everything goes to plan. I guess that works, right, as a synopsis?
Yeah. I'll also put it, most of this is set in 1984, so it is a bit of a prequel.
Yeah, it's set in 1984. Well, I mean, it's set across the decades. Earliest, it goes from like 55 to 84. It basically covers his whole life.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the bulk of this is mostly in the 80s, besides the historical report.
Yeah, that is true. Now, before we get into the script, just some background on this thing. I decided we don't really need to go into the X-Men movies much at all because I've talked the X-Men movies to death and they're over now. So, barring whatever happens with New Mutants.
It's a mercy killing. Maybe New Mutants. We'll see. I don't know anymore. That blows my mind.
If it even comes out.
Yeah, whatever. Fucking new whatever.
I
want to see it.
That might actually be relevant to this script, which I'll get to that later when a certain character makes an appearance based on rumors from test screenings.
Ah.
But yeah, we'll get into that. So basically, the production history and development of this thing is ridiculously complicated. Then basically is that Fox wanted to use the Gambit character from very early on. There was talks that, like, he was in one of those scripts I covered in the last episode. There was talks of giving him like a small cameo role in the first X-Men movie and getting Keanu Reeves to play him. And I'm like, really? I don't know about that.
I don't know either. I mean, and a big lover of Keanu, but that doesn't work at all for him. I don't feel like at all.
Yeah, same here. And in X2, there was like a plan for they got like a stunt guy to do a cameo as Gambit. And I want to say the scene was supposed to be like he was going to be one of the mutants in the holding cells at Alkali Lake, and he was supposed to run into Nightcrawler or something like that. And I'm not 100% sure on whether it was filmed and they cut it, or if they just never got around to shooting it. But either way, that didn't happen. And when they asked the guy about it, he said, oh, they're probably going to go for a more recognizable person. And so Last Stand comes around, and they begin, toying with the idea of putting Gambit in that movie. And they go to, the first person they go to is Josh Holloway from Lost, but apparently he was too busy filming Lost and couldn't make the production, which was a notoriously rushed production. I guess maybe he could have done it. He might have worked maybe.
He could. I think he could have. Back when they were talking about castings, that was one of the top fan picks, and I was behind it because I loved Lost, and he has that Southern thing. I could have seen him do it. He's just not dark enough for me, though. He's got that kind of Thor thing going on.
Yeah, I can see what you mean by that, but he couldn't do it, and then they actually did cast, believe it or not, this early, they cast Channing Tatum in the role, surprisingly enough. Who I like for this. I can't stop saying that enough, that actually I think Channing Tatum works as Gambit. Yeah, when they first announced him, like I was thinking of him in terms of like that G.I. Joe movie and stuff like that, but then I started seeing more of his recent stuff, and what really turned me around on him as Gambit was his role in The Hateful Eight.
Oh yeah, I mean that's Gambit. It's hardcore rated R Gambit, but like just a little more Cajun added into that, and you've got him right there. He's dark and scary.
Yep.
And charming.
And he was cast, and they were looking to cast him, but what happened is that the character was written as a brief cameo, but then the guys who were writing it, including, Simon Kinberg, decided that, they would, that like a brief cameo wouldn't do justice to the character, so they said, let's save him for a future movie, and so the role was cut.
Yeah, they saved him for a future movie, all right.
Oh yeah, they saved him for X-Men Origins, X-Men Origins Wolverine, that piece of shit. And I believe they wanted to get Tatum back for that, but they couldn't get him because he was busy making, like we just mentioned, G.I. Joe.
God, that's so depressing. In so many ways.
Both really shit movies from that year, you think about it.
Oh, yeah. Both things that shit on my childhood so much. I was so betrayed. Obviously, I'm a huge collector of G.I. Joe, and that broke my heart. I mean, it's the worst.
Yeah, let's not. That's a whole subject on its own.
No. Can't go into that.
But then, yeah, so they got Taylor Kitsch to do it. I like Taylor Kitsch, but he's just like, he seems to have the worst run of luck of anybody.
He's a fine actor. He's got a good, he has the worst luck of any actor I've ever seen besides Sophie Turner lately.
Yeah, he's not awful in the movie. It's just Gambit is really shit in the movie. So Channing Tatum kind of dodged that bullet only to get hit by another one, I guess.
Yeah, and that Wolverine movie that had every right to be fantastic, and they somehow fucked up.
And who wrote the first draft of that movie?
Was it Benioff or what?
It was Benioff, so it brings it right back around to Sophie Turner.
Oh, God. I forgot till you said that.
Yeah, you can go back and listen to that episode.
Oh, I need to. I
did that, and me and Deus did that script, and we did the Macquarie draft of the Wolverine. But,
I've heard that's actually good.
It's not as good as you probably have heard. It's really overcomplicated and kind of silly.
Well, hey, hopefully we'll get to read Macquarie's scripts that never got used for Superman and Green Lantern pretty soon.
Oh, hopefully. But so they were planning. Fox was planning to use X-Men Origins Wolverine to spin off all these characters into their own movies like Deadpool and Gambit. But the film did not take off, and people did not respond to the Taylor Kitsch Gambit like they thought they would. So that all kind of went away until 2013, 2014, when they revealed that they were developing a Gambit film with Channing Tatum. And it was officially announced in the wake of the success of Days of Future Past, which, talk about days you wish could be back again. Those were like the most promising days for this franchise.
Days of Future Past gave me too much hope. I feel like Hawkeye when he was standing in the street in Tokyo. Don't do that. Don't give me hope.
It's like Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. They gave us hope to poison our souls.
It's so true. Oh, God.
And then, Tatum signed on to star, and there was brief talk of him them introducing, his version of Gambit in Apocalypse, but that never went anywhere. And I'm guessing that was, my vocabulary is failing me. I'm guessing they scrapped that concept well before this script was written, because the way this is written, there's absolutely no way he could have been in Apocalypse. Unless there's just like a random scene of like, hey, I'm in Paris.
But hey, it's the X franchise, and they don't care about continuity or anything like that, so it could have happened.
Oh, no, they definitely don't. And so they went, they got Josh Zedemer to write this script. Now, he only has 3 credits on IMDb, 2 of which I'd never heard of. I have an outline by him because he wrote the Dune remake when Peter Berg was supposed to do it back in 2008. I've not read the full script, but there was talk about his full script on Twitter being something like 300 pages long, so I'm like, I kind of want to read that just to see what it's like. But it was an interesting outline. There was some kind of odd deviations from the original story that I wasn't too sure about.
I love David Lynch's Dune, and I mean, it's a huge departure.
Yeah, that is true. But you wanna know what the big thing is that Joshua Zedemer has written, like the one thing people will probably have heard of?
What's that?
The RoboCop remake.
Oh, shit. RoboCop Returns or the remake?
The real remake.
Okay.
The
Gotcha.
PG-13.
Joel Kinnaman.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Which, I mean, if they had I maintain if they would have let Jose Padilla do whatever the fuck he wanted with that, it might have been a pretty good movie, but as it stands, it's very compromised.
I mean, with the concept, that's how you update RoboCop, but then you make it PG-13 and he can't do what he wants.
Yeah, and then it was just weirdly, the writing was kind of weird and off in that, but I don't know how much to blame him or the writer who came before him, because there's multiple writers who worked on that movie, but who knows? And so they set the release date for October 7th, 2016, and some of the directors, according to this, that Channing Tatum approached were Bennett Miller, whom he did Foxcatcher with, Darren Aronofsky.
Ooh, that's nice. Oh, shit.
Which, no fucking way would he do it. He loves joining these big projects and just going, nope, and running away.
Like Batman.
And Wolverine. But also on the list...
Yeah, he did. Oh, my God.
Gareth Evans, so Gambit would be in the background the whole movie.
See him for
And J.C. Chandor of A Most Violent Year, and recently did the Netflix movie Triple Frontier.
Oh, well, I mean, okay. He's kind of dime store Peter Berg. Is that bad?
I mean, in Triple Frontier, he definitely was.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I I haven't seen the other one, so I can't really give a comment on it. But I've been wanting to see it because I hear it's a good movie.
It's okay. I wasn't huge into it like a lot of people were, but it wasn't bad. And they signed on Rupert Wyatt of best known for Rise of the Planet of the Apes to direct. Let me check.
Wait, he did Rise?
Yeah, he did Rise.
Sorry, my scroller was over the mute button, and I hit it with my finger.
Oh, you accidentally muted me?
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, he did the thing he's best known for was Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, that's soft Rise. I think it got progressively better.
Well, Matt Reeves took over the trilogy after he left, so. And so the script, jumping into it, is, it's dated August 28th, 2015. It's a second draft, and it starts in 1984 at the Louisiana State Penitentiary, where these 3 U.S. Marshals are entering a secure mutant wing of the prison, and they're, stripping down, making sure they don't have any, possible items on them that could be used as weapons, and they escort a prisoner from his cell. And they put a bag over his head, and they take him to a courthouse in New Orleans where he's revealed to be Remy LeBeau, aka Gambit. And the trial is about to begin, but it becomes apparent that the women on the jury find him overpoweringly attractive, and the jury has to be replaced.
Yeah, I've had that problem before.
Pretty good opening scene, right?
Yeah.
It's
this part, because... No, go ahead.
No, it's pretty funny. They won't let him swear on the Bible because they know he can use it as a weapon.
Yeah, they won't let him touch anything. Everything can he can use everything for his kinetic energy powers. Yeah. So basically,
they keep shouting, "Weapon, weapon."
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's got a bit of a dark comedy spin to every bit of the script, and just the feeling overall has a bit of a tongue-in-cheek kind of comedic bend to it, even when it's super serious.
Yeah, and I have this feeling here in this scene. This scene in particular, though, I'm just like, okay, Channing, dial down the ego a little bit.
No, that was going to be cranked up to 11. He was going to be charming the shit out of that scene.
Yeah. And the one woman's like, he looks like Richard Gere. And I'm like, no.
That's not right at all. You're
But okay, pretty good introduction. So from there, it flashes back to 1955, and, Master Thief Luc LeBeau is sneaking into the Boudreaux plantation, making his way to the master bedroom to rob a wall safe. And I should mention, it's like a wedding party for Marianne Boudreaux here. I'm specifically pointing that out because it's going to lead to a bit of a fuck up later on, I'm going to have to point out. He finds that because it does not match the ages of certain characters later. I'm just going to point that out.
Yeah, just noticed that.
It took me 2 reads to pick up on that. But, he finds the safe, but he finds that somebody else has broken it open before he could get there, leaving burn marks on the metal. And he spots the thief fleeing out the corner of his eye and pursues him out the window and across the nearby train tracks to Storyville, which is the New Orleans mutant slum, basically. And Luke finds that the thief is an orphan 6-year-old boy, the younger version of Gambit, and confronts him, and the kid's whistling a tune, which is important for later. And he confronts him, saying that the plantation is LeBeau turf, but Luke takes pity on the boy and tells him where he can fence the loot before leaving. And then Gambit, he picks up a ring and a rolled up photograph, remember that, and follows Luke, finding his base of operations, this cobbled together houseboat of sorts called The Boat, creatively, which is docked in the nearby bayou. And so Luke takes Gambit in, the latest of this group of orphans that he's been raising, which includes the young Henri and Charlie, who are 2 of the main characters of this. And so Luke takes Gambit's possessions, puts them in his safe, and the rest of the boys attempt to give the new arrival a bath, and the confusion, it triggers his powers, causing an explosion from his fingertips. And so Luke, who takes a pragmatic approach to the situation, asks Gambit to use his powers on a slot machine, which he manages to blow open with his still not fully controlled abilities. And it actually points out that Luke's different from every other parent in the X-Men universe, and that he shows acceptance and willingly takes Gambit under his wing.
Yeah, and something I noticed, if it was just me, but I'm going to see if you noticed it, and this could help people when they're trying to figure out what Luc LeBeau may need to look or sound like. This was written for Michael Rooker. I swear to God it was.
It can't be, because they say he's black.
I know. Oh, yeah, that's right. Crap. No wonder I was reading it wrong.
Michael Rooker in a can of shoe polish, maybe.
That's funny. Hey, that's comedy. Anyway. So yeah, who the hell is that charming? Who do you cast there? He talks like Rooker. He
does. Well, fuck me if Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson are gonna be in Saw 9. Who knows?
Yeah, for real. It all bets. Fucking Samuel L. Jackson for Luc LeBeau.
He would probably do it too.
Yeah, he would.
Alright, so it jumps ahead to 1963 with a teenage Gambit, who, along with Henri, Charlie, and the rest of the gang, are stealing food from the market in the French Quarter. And while using his powers to bust a padlock, Gambit accidentally gets the attention of some cops who give chase. And the bulk of the gang gets away on bicycles while the police continue to pursue Gambit, Henri, and Charlie. And at first, Gambit is climbing a drain pipe up the side of this sort of industrial-looking building on the edge of Storyville, but he's startled by a mutant girl with bone spurs sticking out of her face watching him from a window. So he leaps over to an adjacent fire escape and drops the ladder to let Henri and Charlie follow him. That will be important later. Okay, so while moving through the building, he spies the teenage Belladonna Boudreaux, holding a psychic reading where she uses her mutant psychic abilities on 2 tourists. And this is where I gotta point out the inconsistency. She's supposed to be 13 here. Marianne was getting married in 1955. She should only be 8 years old, and this relationship should be a whole lot more creepy.
Yeah, this is they messed it up. They obviously didn't check their math. Because Marianne was supposed to be like in her 20s in 1955,
something like that.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Gambit, hears the cops coming, so he ducks into the parlor, and he puts Bella at ease by revealing his powers to her, energizing a tarot card and throwing it, which punches a hole through the wall, alerting the police to his location. Oops.
Yeah, I like the fact that they do show his powers at their full potential, and he's kind of, as a teenager and as a child, he doesn't have full control over them. Yeah. Also, they made him spry, which is good. And
I like how his powers, like he progressively has more control over them as the time periods go by.
Yeah, you can tell that he's to be the killing machine that he is in the 80s.
Yeah, and so Henri and Charlie catch up, and Bella, who's totally smitten at this point, joins the chase, and she leads them on a shortcut through a brothel, and Gambit steals a fur coat.
So dope. Love that. That's so Gambit.
And then they're like in through the keyholes watching people and stuff, and they eventually lose the cops, but Gambit and Bella decide to attempt to steal a cop car, which they screw up almost immediately and get arrested. And so they get bailed out by their respective gangs, and like Marianne shows up and she bribes the cops with pastries, which I thought was kind of weird.
Donut, got it.
And, that's where we meet, and we also meet, Bella's brother Julian and her cousin Vincent here. And we get a sense of the conflict between, the Boudreaux, who are like the high-class criminals, and the LeBeaus, who are like the low-class poor people. And like Gambit and Bella share a kiss on the steps, which just royally pisses off Marianne, which is kind of funny.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part. Also, there's this movie would have a cool soundtrack. Just pointing that out.
Yeah, they the song they mention here is "The Devil Went Down to Georgia."
Yeah, the reason the devil went down to Georgia.
Yeah, and there's a few songs that are mentioned throughout, but then there will be places where it just weirdly will mention a band, but not the song.
Yeah, I think it does that. I can't. It was like a Creedence song or something like that.
There's a moment where they mention Duran Duran, but they don't say what the song is.
Oh yeah, no, I remember now.
Okay, so it jumps ahead to 1973 with a now adult Gambit who's stolen another police car, and he connects two batons together into a staff. So that's Gambit's staff in this version. It's two police batons.
The origin of Gambit's staff being two police batons. It's not long enough at all.
No, I don't think it would be either. And so he uses his acrobatic abilities to sneak in onto the grounds of the Boudreaux plantation, and he climbs in through Bella's window. And so this scene establishes their relationship, and they're talking about running away together. And Bella hasn't told her family about her powers yet. And we see Gambit, for no reason at all, taking a risk to steal a beer from cousin Vincent. And we learn that he won't let Bella read too deeply into his mind, instead showing her an image of Henri on the toilet while eating KFC just to freak her out.
That cracks me up. And I don't know why that's so weird.
It comes back later, too.
Yeah.
We also, during this scene, we see news footage of Mystique saving Nixon from Days of Future Past on the TV. So this has a very definite place in the X-Men timeline.
Yes, this movie is in continuity, unlike every other fucking movie they made.
Yeah, and I remember reading this for the first time and just going, wait a minute, they're actually doing this? I'm surprised.
Hey, look, they paid attention. That's crazy.
And alright, so the next thing we see is, there's like a scene of Gambit like knocking down a tree with his powers, and like his eyes are turning red, blah blah blah, and it's like, oh, he's got darkness within him, blah blah blah, which is just foreshadowing for stuff later.
It's also for the 13th.
And so we next see, the LeBeau gang they're casing the local Federal Reserve Bank, and they realize they don't have enough manpower for that job. And Gambit gets an idea, and okay, there's this weird thing where they start mentioning the Assassin's Guild, but they don't actually say what that is.
They gloss over it. It's a waste, too, because that actually would have been pretty cool to include.
Yeah, I guess so. They gate crash the guild hall while Marianne she's in there bribing a councilman not to expand the Storyville housing projects, because, she's a bit of a racist. And Gambit proposes that the two gangs join forces for the bank job, which Henri doesn't like, but Luke approves of. And the Boudreaux agree despite Julian's disapproval, but back at the plantation, Marianne tells Bella not to trust Gambit, as his thrill-seeking makes him irresponsible and dangerous, but Bella ignores the warning. And both gangs, with their faces painted look like skulls, they take on the bank heist. Gambit, Henri, and Bella hit the vault, Gambit melting through the door. They get the cash out, but then Gambit notices a secondary vault that wasn't on the plans and goes after it in spite of them not having time for it. And he actually snaps at Henri, blaming him for having out-of-date plans and not doing his job correctly, but Gambit's just being a dick here.
Yeah, he's obviously being super alpha.
And he's like, he melts through the door and begins working on the grill inside, seeing that the vault is full of gold bars. And then Bella, uses her powers to sense that the police have arrived, and she leaves Gambit down there saying her mother was right, which she kind of was.
Yeah, no, she, it's just kind of fucked up to say that.
It is, but, because of everything else she does in this.
Yeah.
Bella returns to the bank floor, and she uses her powers in front of everyone to out the approaching cops. And then this sends Julian into a rage. He shoves her against the wall and begins choking her out. And it's at that exact moment that Gambit enters the room and in a rage hurls an energized gold bar at Julian. And this turns the robbery into a tense standoff between the two gangs, which is almost defused before Julian goes for his gun, and Gambit hurls a playing card at him and kills him. So we got, and everybody in the audience and on the air just starts freaking out because obviously Gambit doesn't kill, goddammit.
Yeah, obvious. No, he does.
What is this, a DC movie?
Yeah, pretty dark.
And so it all erupts into chaos with the gangs shooting at each other left and right. Luke is shot and killed, and Bella elects to flee with her family instead of going with Gambit. And Marianne is seemingly accepting of her daughter's abilities, but, we see her flinch when they embrace, showing that she's still kind of, in the same place she was at first. She's just hiding it. And then back at the boat, Gambit and Henri argue, ending with Gambit walking away from the gang and leaving New Orleans. So 35 pages of script setting up the backstory, but it works, I think.
I think it works too. Particularly like the bank heist. The whole bank heist scene is pretty good. It's tense. It's got a feeling. It's got a very 70s bank heist movie feel to it in general, which I like too.
And they also specifically draw a parallel to Michael Mann's Thief.
Absolutely.
Which is always a good one to reference.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. If you're going to reference something, do that.
And then, so it cuts ahead to 10 years later in 1983, and so this next part goes between 83 and 84. Gambit is, he's at an underground bar in Paris listening to Duran Duran. They don't say what the song is. He's approached by a man named Elaine who wants to hire him for a heist, which is sponsored by a backer named Jake. And then Gambit, Elaine, and a mutant named Alphonse. There's a brief moment where Gambit objects to working with mutants but backs off. They break into the still under construction Louvre Museum to steal a Raphael painting, but Gambit screws up and sets off the alarm, but he manages to get away with the painting and leaving Elaine and Alphonse behind like a douche.
Yeah. Oh, that's the part where that's the part where he uses the boombox.
The boombox is later.
Okay, my bad. Not about that part. I was thinking, wait, was that the boombox?
No. The boombox is much later for the main heist.
Oh yeah.
Wait.
Right.
I think he did use a boombox here. Let me jump ahead. Check for sure.
I think that was the short part where he just used Billie Jean.
Yeah, he does use Billie Jean. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he blasts Billie Jean by Michael Jackson in the middle of the Louvre while they're robbing it. I was thinking of
Go ahead.
I was thinking of a different boombox scene from later.
Oh, I don't know what you're thinking about.
Yeah, that there's a reason why my mind went to that one first.
Yeah.
But Gambit is then, he's partying at a nightclub with the Raphael hanging on the wall, and he's obviously kind of miserable, not enjoying the party. Oh yeah, also it's mentioned that he's wearing like red striped bicycle shorts, and it says this is what his costume would look like if it was designed by Jean-Paul Gaultier.
That I read that, I was like, got it. Like, I totally saw it in my head. Like, there it is.
Like, it's Gambit just wearing really ugly fashion that kind of looks like his costume, and that kind of works for an 80s set script.
It does. I love that. It makes so much sense. I mean, this is too good. Fuck, why didn't this happen?
Yeah. And so, he's partying, and he's approached by a woman named Jacqueline, and they end up making out and in bed together back at Gambit's clock tower loft, because apparently that's a thing that he has in Paris.
Yeah, because, he has all that.
He borrowed it off of Barbara Gordon.
Yeah.
And then, Jacqueline gets out of bed and reveals herself to be a mutant shapeshifter when she transforms back into Jake, the backer of the Louvre heist. And Gambit's like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, that part was, I guess I'm buying it because it's an X-Men movie, but Gambit was just more alarmed than as alarmed as I was.
And so Jake says that the job at the Louvre was just a test to see how good Gambit was, an audition of sorts for the real job his employer wants Gambit to take on, which is going to be in New Orleans. Gambit, wants nothing to do with it. But Jake tries to persuade Gambit by telling him that the LeBeau gang has been almost entirely wiped out by the Boudreaux, and that the job will involve robbing Marianne. Gambit still refuses, which prompts Jake to hand him a Betamax tape, because 80s, saying that as the answer he's been seeking for the past 10 years. And so Jake leaves, and Gambit watches the tape, which is security camera footage of the bank heist, and it shows Marianne Boudreaux was the one who shot Luke in the back all those years ago, and then Gambit follows Jake out to accept the job.
Yeah, this is similar to something I read in another I think it was a Wolverine script where somebody showed him that he was wrong about his memory and all that stuff. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but it's a very similar trope in X-Men stuff in general.
There's a couple scripts that go into Wolverine's memories like that, so it could be either one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so the next scene, Jake is driving Gambit into New Orleans, and Gambit sees that the city has been flooded and generally trashed, which Jake explains was the result of Magneto's actions in X-Men Apocalypse. So, once again, a tie into the other movies. He
didn't do anything like that.
Yeah, because what the script says is that Magneto fiddled with the Earth's magnetic field, when what you see in the movie is that he just yanked up the metal from under the ground and started, trashing stuff. So something changed in Apocalypse between this script being written and that movie getting filmed.
Which I would have loved to have seen that, but Magneto never really gets to go full Magneto in the movies and scare you to death. And he should.
Then also, I completely forgot what point I was going to make about that. But also I have to say that it shows that what Magneto did actually has consequences, because in the movie it's a couple bridges get broken, but a lot of people probably died, and Xavier's just like, hey, Eric, you want to join the X-Men? It's like, fuck off, movie.
Come on, man. He's done enough bad shit. Oh my god. Foxmen.
Yeah, that ending is just like, what the fuck are you doing, movie?
No, it doesn't know itself.
And then we get a mention of the fact that the city didn't get any government aid because there's too many, because the large mutant population down there, which supports something else because in Apocalypse there's just a random line from Mystique about how, on the outside they say they're more accepting of us, but underneath, the racism is still there, which you never really see that much in that movie. Here, you get a great sense of that in this. So once again, it improves on stuff Apocalypse did a kind of shitty job at.
It's actual X-Men That's kind of the whole struggle of mutant, and these films have mostly disregarded it.
And so Gambit has Jake pull over, and he swims down to the wreckage of the boat, retrieving his old possessions from Luke's safe, and the photo is revealed to be a picture of his younger self with his real parents in front of a pair of elegant-looking columns. Remember that?
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, it's very important. And Jake, who throughout the script transforms back and forth from Jacqueline, takes Gambit to the flooded Ninth Ward to meet the rest of his team, which turns out to be Henri and Charlie. Gambit and Henri almost come to blows, but Charlie defuses things and they agree to work together for the time being. And Jake drives the three of them through the city, and Henri explains that Marianne took advantage of the flood using mutant killers, including Rictor, Nock, and the Vanisher twins. Now, I don't know if that's supposed to be the same comic book character, Rictor, that they used for Logan. I mean, obviously, continuity-wise...
It seems like... Yeah, it doesn't fit, because of, he does have the same power set as Rictor, it seems like, the whole earthquakey thing.
I mean, I know he's not... I know, continuity-wise speaking, they can't be the same character, but, I mean, are they both adapting the same character is what I'm getting at.
It does... because, like I said, he has the vibrational powers. Yeah. But it's kind of like saying, which version of Sandman are you talking about? You're talking about version 1, version 2, version 3. It's just basically what happens when they get rebooted and they keep the same name. And there's been a single Rictor, but we have two different stories.
Oh, okay. And also the Vanisher twins, which, okay, I'm assuming they would not have gotten bread for this.
No. Too bad. Oh, man. Brad Pitt playing twins.
But it's really funny because they mentioned that they're not actually twins, they're just really stupid because there's actually 3 of them.
It's kind of... I forgot what they're called. There's a pair of triplets in X-Men that just escaped me. Cuckoo, but they're girls, but the same concept.
Emma Frost students, the something cuckoos.
Yeah, the cuckoo. Yeah,
they're the something cuckoos, and the's 5 of them. I just read that Morrison stuff not long ago, so...
Yeah, that's deep in there. That's way back.
Yeah.
In my head.
And so Marianne used these mutant killers to rob the city blind and take out her competition in 3 days flat. And Jake explains that her employer was hit as well and wants their property back. And Gambit also notices people on the streets buying and selling these mysterious green pills. And so they pull up outside the Boudreaux plantation to reconnoiter it, and Henri begins explaining this complex plan he has involving a fingerprint scanner, but Gambit just gets out of the car and goes right in there, and Henri and Charlie just have to follow him.
Well, that's what he would do. They get Gambit right in this. He's cocky and charming and crazy.
Yep, and they're also setting up a running gag here with Henri having like a weird plan and then Gambit ignoring it.
He's so mean, but that's how it is. I mean, it's the way it should be.
I mean, if you're Gambit, you're Gambit. You're gonna be Gambit. But so they watch the Boudreaux gang. They unload a bunch of stolen items into the plantation's old slave quarters, including a pallet of the green pills with a double helix logo on it. And so Gambit then just goes off on his own and into the Boudreaux kitchen, where he confronts Bella, telling her what her mother did to Luke, as well as the job they were hired to do, and then he offers not to do it for a reasonable payment. So he's playing both sides.
This is his fistful of dollars.
And also, this is where I have to bring this up here, because this is the last time Luke's death gets mentioned in the entire script. He never tells the other two about it, and he never really gets his revenge on Marianne really in this. Not in like any permanent way, like it kind of gets put into someone else's hands, so I think that's a bit of a flaw here.
I don't know if that was or not, but it's really weird that they would just leave it out after this point, because the fact that they don't know is very detrimental to the story as far as, how they feel about him.
Yeah, like it definitely would have motivated those Henri and Charlie to go with him.
Absolutely. It's good character development if you use that in there. It's very strange. I don't know.
Yeah, and so Marianne walks in then, catching Gambit, and it's mentioned that, they both have dyed their hair blonde. He goes like, did y'all both go blonde at the same time? And so, she sends the Vanishers after him, leading to a big fight scene before he escapes the house. And they're actually beating each other up inside like a small bathroom at one point.
Yeah, this had a lot of really good action in it, particularly martial arts, and you can feel that weight in how they set up the scenes.
Like really good small scale stuff.
Yeah, CQB kind of stuff.
And so Gambit hotwires Vincent's pink Cadillac, picking up Charlie and beginning to drive away as Richter and the other Boudreaux pursue on motorcycles. Henri actually runs and keeps up with the Cadillac, ripping the door off and climbing inside. So he's basically been juicing up. Gambit drives them into the city, crashing into the lobby of the police station, letting the cops arrest them to get away from the Boudreaux. Marianne, pissed, orders Vincent to hire someone called Fifolet to take care of Gambit and the LeBeaus. And we then see the three LeBeaus in a cell and Henri is suffering from withdrawal, and he explains that he's been taking those pills, which are technically mutant genome, and they grant you temporary superpowers, but have like a really hard come down. Yeah, surprised they haven't. Interesting plot point to throw in there, these drugs that can give you superpowers.
I really like that. It reminds me a lot of Our Man from DC, obviously, because same thing happened to him.
And it reminds me of Nuke, honestly.
Nuke, and then the Bourne Supremacy.
And also, in the Alias comic, there's the superpower drug that they're making out of Spider-Woman's DNA.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, I forgot that's who they...
Yeah, and so Vincent goes to hire Fifolet, who's this Chinese mutant assassin with these long fingernails, and he's peeling shrimp with his fingernails, and this is such a weird moment. Vincent offers him an automatic shrimp peeler as payment, which he accepts.
I didn't. He's doing it the hard way all these years.
And so that night, Fifolet breaks into the jail and attacks Gambit with his electric fingers, I guess is what they are.
Something? This is really strange. That's going into a, I don't know. There's some weird mutants in this.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to go into all of them because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, no, you don't need to.
Yeah, but he's interrupted by the arrival of Nathaniel Essex and a psychic named Alice, who uses her powers to make him shoot himself in the head with a gun. And so Essex, who is thin and pale, with a beard and a diamond-shaped scar on his forehead, uses Alice to communicate telepathically with Gambit, revealing himself as the mysterious employer, explained he's a geneticist who manufactures the mutant genome drug.
Yep, it's...
It's sinister.
Oh, boy. I hate the scar on the forehead thing so bad.
And they don't explain what it is, either.
No.
They just say it's
pisses me off.
They just say it's a surgical scar, and they don't explain what it is.
Sinister's too good of a big bad correctly.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that they built up Sinister at the end of Apocalypse, and they were technically, I guess, building him up for this.
It seems like the makeist geneticist kind of thing.
Yeah, and well, though, I mean, apparently they've tried to use them in other places too, because supposedly there's a Sinister cameo in that Fear the Beast script that was released a while back. I haven't gotten around to reading it yet.
Yeah, me either, but I can't wait.
And I don't know if you've heard the rumors about the New Mutants test screening.
I'm not sure, Are you talking about the facts that Sinister was supposed to be mentioned in it, like a cameo, or is he actually in it?
Sinister was supposed to show up in it. I don't know what, and I don't know if this is true, by the way, so take this with a grain of salt. He was supposed to show up in it in some capacity, and he was played by John Hamm.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have no idea if that's true, though. I mean, that's just stuff I've heard online.
Oh, yeah, we have no idea. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, these days, so many reports come out that are false information to throw people off. You never know anymore.
And so Sinister is talking, and he's upset with Gambit, and he talks about how his rash actions have caused the Boudreaux to move their stolen goods to a more secure location. And this is my thing with Sinister here. They play him a little too silly. He has this weird speech where he talks about Fat Elvis and how Elvis, lost his touch, and he's like, I thought I was hiring an artist, but did I just hire Fat Elvis? And I'm like, I don't think your point makes a whole lot of sense here, dude.
No, this is the part where he's like particularly arch, cranking the ornate steampunk watch, the Victorian watch, while he's talking.
He goes, Remy, amigo.
It's so hammy.
But what's weird is that he actually has decent moments where he's not like that, and then they'll just have him say something stupid.
A good act's fun as hell. It's not terrible.
Okay, so puts an image in Gambit's head of the item he wants back, a banged-up iron trunk with a double helix logo on it, which he thinks the Boudreaux are going to put up for auction. He tells Gambit, which we don't hear this part because it cuts to perspective people not in on the psychic Skype call or whatever, and where it will be... And he only has 4 days to retrieve it, and Gambit says that's impossible. But Essex then threatens everyone he cares about, getting him to comply, and then has Alice suspend everyone in the police station in midair so that Gambit, Henri, and Charlie can leave. Another
prison escape. There's a few escapes from jails in this.
From jails and locked rooms and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But, it works, because once again...
And I will say, I do like the overall scene, and I like how Sinister is just sort of sinisterly in the background. It's just stuff like the Fat Elvis speech and calling Gambit amigo is just like, what are you trying to do?
It's really strange, but imagine if Noah Hawley had directed this scene with the same writing, and then you can totally see it work.
The thing that I keep imagining is that they're trying to do like a Daniel Day-Lewis Bill the Butcher thing, where he's like, whoopsie daisy.
Oh, yeah, no, it definitely comes off as that kind of character. As far as being able to pull it off, yeah, you need somebody like that.
Yeah, I don't know who would actually, I don't think they would ever be able to get him to be in an X-Men movie.
Nah, unless his kid was like, please do an X-Men. I feel like even then he'd be like, I don't know.
and so we go back to the Boudreaux gang, and they're moving the stolen goods into a gambling hall called the Palace of Chance, when Marianne gets word that the assassination attempt was interfered with, and she suspects that one of her hired hands was involved and has Bella sniff him out with her abilities. And it's implied that she's not just sniffing out the traitors, she's also testing Bella's loyalty to her. And so she then asks her to help deal with Gambit, and Bella astral projects her soul looking for traces of Gambit. She finds Henri's wife Charity and follows her home.
Also, with the right effects, very cool.
Yeah,
the way that her power would work.
Could be. And like it's just like her power, when she uses her powers, it's described as like her eyes roll back in her head and stuff like that. So it could be pretty visually interesting.
Mm-hmm. She throws the shades on right when it's about to happen. Yeah!
She's now like a Conjuring villain.
Yeah, or villain meets Horatio Sands.
Now, also, I should mention that, she was actually cast multiple times, at least twice by different directors, but Bella Boudreaux was the other character who was cast, and when Rupert Wyatt was doing this, he had cast Léa Seydoux.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Now, that didn't stick when other directors... I could see her working.
Oh, yeah. Well, at this point...
Doesn't matter.
God, I just would have liked to see anything. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And so Charlie, he begs out of the job, which turns out to be robbing the thieves' ball, an auction held at the gambling house, which is supposed to be impossible. And dismissing the heist as suicidal, Charlie drives away. And so Bella possesses Charity, using her to listen in as Gambit and Henri. Henri wants to use a bunch of classically trained actors to get in, but Gambit vetoes the idea, saying he doesn't like using actors and shills. And he then stops in the middle of explaining his plan, seemingly realizing that Bella's there, and then he asks Henri if Bella has put on weight since she's been gone, which causes her to freak out and return to her own body, and she just goes, "That dick."
Oh, that part is awesome. And I can totally, in my head, see Channing Tatum do that.
Yeah, it's totally a Jump Street moment.
Oh my god, it's too hilarious.
Yeah, and so Gambit, he's initially reluctant, and Henri talks him into hiring on mutants as part of the crew for the heist. He takes him to Harry the Silverman, who seemingly exists in like a different speed of time, who says he hears everything in the city, and he even knows a little bit about Gambit, but he can't say where he came from, because even as he says, even Nolans doesn't know everything, so that's more foreshadowing to this weird twist we get later on. But he points them to a young mutant named Danny Moonstar, who is currently creating illusions for a revival preacher. And she's like making this demon appear, and like she's supposed to let go of the illusion, but then she doesn't. And so the whole congregation goes into chaos. And she explains that she can make both fears and wishes appear to people by using her powers, and proves it to Gambit by showing him Bella showing up to make out with him when actually he's holding Danny's dog, who's an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the dog's a drinker.
Yeah, the alcoholic bulldog.
Oh god, it's just like my old bulldog, but he wasn't alcoholic. But I wish he would have been.
Danny also points them to two more mutants who can join the crew, Mask and Jamie Madrox, aka the Multiple Man, Mask can change faces, and Madrox can multiply himself, and so Mask changes his face and then so that he's not recognizable, and then he multiplies himself and makes a whole gang out of just two people.
Jamie Madrox is one of beloved cult mutants that you'll ever find. People go crazy about Jamie Madrox. I mean, that he is really beloved, and I love him. And him being in this and actually fleshed out the way he is makes me so happy. Also, Mask, weird character, but that's pretty cool. Just including Moonstar in this with her crazy power set is really awesome.
Yeah, and they inserted them in ways that would make sense for a heist movie.
Exactly. Come on. I mean, Multiple Man, definitely. You know where that's going to go.
Yeah. The thing is that I wonder, like, imagine if they had made this and they also made that James Franco Mole Man movie. I'm like, God damn it, Fox.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was one of those, like, that was like that group of, like, 5 or so random movies they announced, along with Doctor Doom and Bendis writing a Kitty Pryde movie, which presumably would have had to be 4 movies long because it was so decompressed.
I love Kitty, man. I love Kitty Pryde, but that is too much Kitty Pryde.
I was joking around about the decompressed part because it's Bendis, but...
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
We're gonna overwrite this now.
And so Alice arrives to... I find it weird that she gives Gambit the money before the heist happens.
Are you that...
Yeah, she gives him the money, and he like holds on to it for the rest of the crew. And so he explains to the crew that they're going to rob the Thieves' Ball, which is this huge criminal party held in the gambling hall during Mardi Gras. Yeah, they use the festival as like a cover so no one notices. And he says that they auction off loot and they carve up territory and stuff like that, and people come from all over for this. And this is where we get another Henri suggestion where he says, hey, let's hire Mystique, or the blue chick as he calls her. But then Gambit says, we only got 2 days left to plan this. We don't have time to go hiring some random ass blue chick, which is probably my favorite line in the thing.
Oh no, that's great. That's exciting. And too bad, because this would actually be a place where I would think Mystique would work. Not making her not making her the main actor for all the other fucking movies.
And yet still give her nothing to do.
What the hell?
I still maintain it's so weird in Apocalypse how she's basically a main character, but she does nothing in that movie.
She just wanders around finding mutants to show you cameos.
And she sits around in the mansion moping with Beast.
That's what they love him.
And so Gambit says that he's got the whole plan in his head. He's not going to tell them anything, just that they're going in with the caterers. And while this is going on, Bella just so happens to be possessing Mask to listen in.
Oh yeah, this is... expect it. Ridiculous.
Yeah, and so Bella informs Marianne of their planned entrance with the caterers, but Gambit pulled a fast one, lying to his crew, and they really enter the building as roadies for the band. And so Marianne's upset by Bella's bad intel and orders her to find Gambit and do whatever it takes to meet the goal, including unbuttoning her shirt and basically whoring her out.
Yep. Gotta love your mom, man.
Yeah. And so meanwhile, Gambit hands out sealed envelopes to the rest of the crew. They have times written on them, which is every step of the heist separated out and written and sealed in different envelopes so that Bella can't learn anything by reading their minds. And he actually has Mask just leave and go hang out somewhere else.
Super clever. So you learned your lesson. That's good.
Yeah, I like the way the heist is written really, really well on this, I think.
That is, it's the best. The heist is it's got a very, you can hear the music start up in your head and you can see it all start happening, kind of like an Ocean's movie or something.
Or like the first Mission Impossible.
Yeah, the first one. That's exactly, it definitely feels like it.
And so they split up, Jamie and Mask leave, and then Henri and Gambit, they climb to a higher floor. They send Danny to the basement, I think, or something. They send her somewhere else. They tell her to wait outside, I think. And so they climb to a higher floor where they see Marianne interrupt the auction to place a price on Gambit's head. And this causes Gambit to order Henri to skip a few steps while he heads to the closed owner's box, and he's figured out that must be where Bella's hiding. And since we're just in the auction hall, I have to point out another sort of tiny little fuck up that happens here, is that they mention the Hand and say that they are the criminals who showed up in the Wolverine. First of all, the Hand are not the gangsters from the Wolverine, and they couldn't use the Hand because Marvel had the rights to the Hand by that point.
Which is sad because that's totally what it was supposed to be.
And the stand-in for the Hand wasn't even the gangsters; it was the ninjas, the Black Clan. So it's wrong on that count too.
That's completely off base. That's not the Hand. Oh my god, never mind. That's a deep that can go on forever. I can talk about that for a while.
Although still would probably be better than what they ultimately did with the Hand and the Defenders. and Iron Fist.
Oh, I know.
And so he confronts Bella and offers her a peek inside his mind in exchange for information on the trunk he's stealing back for Essex, convinced it's not just a drug inside, and they actually compared this to strip poker, which I thought was pretty funny.
Oh, is this the part with the strip poker?
Yeah, where he says, like, oh, it's going to be like when we played strip poker, only with our minds.
I remember this part.
And so he shows her his happiest memory, which was them on the police station steps. His worst, their breakup during the heist, and he apologizes for his behavior there before showing her, but not the audience, the future he wanted them to have together, and that kind of wins her over. And during this point, we also see Marianne sending Vincent and a bunch of guards to watch the basement vault. Gambit and Bella, they head to a bedroom where he zip cuffs her to the bed, leaving her in Alice's care while he heads to the basement to meet up with Henri and Danny, who has to jump down a laundry chute to get there, which I thought was pretty funny.
That's some Buster Keaton.
And Bella manages to get out of the cuff and throw Alice out the window, killing her before hanging off to get Gambit. And during that scene, they're like throwing psychic blows back and forth at each other. And she actually, gets her moment in to distract her when she shows the image of Henri on the toilet with the KFC bucket.
That's the callback, and that's hilarious. It's great.
And so in the basement, Danny uses her abilities, she brings up Vincent and the guards' wishes to take them out of commission, while Gambit opens the Essex trunk, shocked at what he finds inside. Bella confronts him, but backs down when he shows her the contents, a child named Sarah, the same bone-faced child Gambit saw in the window decades ago, but still the same age, and it's confirmed that she's supposed to be a mutant called Marrow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when they first mentioned her, with the bone spurs, that it would be Marrow, and then it's confirmed that it is, and I like that. She's a cool character.
Yeah, she's not. There's so many X-Men, I hardly know them all, so whenever I read one of these things, I'm like, okay, is that a comic book character? But it turned out that she is. Yeah,
because a lot of them aren't. I mean, it's just like, well, that's a mutant that does that. It's kind of like that dude with the hair in Dark Phoenix. He might be somebody, but he might not be.
Oh,
I don't know.
Gender-flipped Sindel.
Yeah, kinda.
It's
weird.
Danny begins to lose control of her illusions, leading to a brief confrontation with Vincent, who ends up locked inside the trunk. Gambit melted the lock. Oh, wait, they used a key to open it. That's right. The key was right next to it. Oh, by the way, the twist, it's a kid in the trunk who's like a test subject. Kind of been used in a bunch of movies already. Like, it's not a problem with this script, but I did think about that.
Yeah, they've done that a lot in X-Men, even X-Men films. I don't know. I guess they always wanted to do it, and they finally did with Laura.
Like, the main thing that comes to mind is Ultraviolet, that piece of shit.
In Daredevil, with in the show with
the black sky.
Yeah, the black sky. That I thought about that too, and I was like, okay, well maybe they just used it. I don't know.
Yep. And so the guards, they're beginning to wake up, and more are coming down the stairs, and Bella directs them onto the elevator, which takes them up into the middle of the auction hall. And Marianne briefly tries to get Bella on her side, but then sends all of the gangs after them when she doesn't. And this leads to this huge all-out brawl, the characters using their powers, Gambit's throwing cards. There's a moment where he runs out of cards, and he has Bella just hand him random items that he's charging up and throwing at people. Like, he actually tosses a handful of coins up into the air at one point, and when the people go to grab them, they explode.
Oh, man. This part, I can't stress how cool this would have been to see, because you get to see him put his powers on full display. And yeah, that part with the coins is...
Yeah, it's really a lot of really cool creative uses of powers in this. And so eventually Gambit and his crew they clear the floor, but cops have begun to arrive outside thanks to people on the streets noticing the ruckus that they just kicked up. And so they head upstairs where Marianne confronts them with a shotgun, and she confirms that she only kept Bella around because her powers were useful, and she also has the line, "I guess I assumed you were one of the good ones," which is just...
Oh gosh. Yeah, one hard. I mean... with all the grace of a sledgehammer. Ugh.
And, she fires a Gambit, but Sarah takes the blast, which she rapidly heals from, and then she rips one of the bone spurs off her face, and it kills Marianne in the leg with it, which then grows back onto her face. So, okay, that was cool.
Yeah, it's very neat, Marrow to just run through the woods and throw shit at people. Like, I don't know, another movie.
Yeah, now that I think of it.
This is way better.
And so Bella takes control of Marianne and makes her head out the front doors and turn herself into the cops, saying, "There's tons of stolen goods in there. I stole them. Arrest me." Which, yeah, she does, get taken down for what she did, but I feel like Gambit should have been more directly involved in taking her down, considering the whole thing about her killing Luke LeBeau earlier in the script.
There's no vengeance. Kills me.
Yeah, it's a little weak. Mm-hmm. But that's not, you don't have to change too much of the script either to make that work.
2 lines. It isn't hard.
And so Bella stays, and she takes over the Boudreaux gang, leaving Gambit and his crew to escape. They rush out the front doors, and then there's all these cops, and it's looking like they might not get away. And that's when JB and Mask do their part. They get out a boombox and they start playing music. And Mask makes Jamie look like Gambit, and he splits himself off into over 100 of them, who all dance through the Mardi Gras crowds to Prince's 1999, giving the crew time to escape. This would have been so amazing to see.
It's the best part. It's the best movie. Without a doubt, it's one of the coolest things I've read in a while, as far as I was like, damn, I want to see this. Like, all of it is perfect.
And the cops just like, we don't know which one to go after.
Oh my god. It's so X-Men. It is so X-Men.
It was just really, really cool.
It's hard to, without reading it yourself, how this scene would have been pulled off, and you can kind of see it in your head if you can imagine the song, and when you're reading it. Oh man, this is good.
All right, so back at the tram car that Danny lives in, Gambit splits the money among the gang, and when they tried to decide what to do with Sarah, she says her family lives with Essex, and she shows Gambit a picture of them, which is nearly identical to the one he has of himself with his birth parents. They're even standing in front of the same columns. Dun dun dun.
A house of S.
And so, wanting answers from Essex, Gambit has Sarah lead him to the Essex compound, which is described as a Jonestown-like community behind a fingerprint-locked gate and also voice recognition in Storyville. And he finds a group of houses with mutant families in them and the pair of columns from the pictures. And here's the thing I have with this part. I kind of want to know more about what this place actually is, how much the rest of New Orleans actually knows about it, because they seem to know who Essex is, based on some things that happen a bit later.
Obviously, he's well-to-do. He's well-known. It seems like he might be a doctor of some sort that used to be practicing in the city, and people like him. But the house isn't talked about that much. It's just kind of the compound, not the house. But this could have been really cool to go into, because it's kind of got like House of Essex feel, and it needs more of that. More.
Yep, and a chime rings out, which is the same tune that Gambit was whistling as a child. It rings out over the intercom, telling the community that it's donation time, and Gambit follows them to a medical building where they donate blood and tissue samples, which we find out are used to make the drug. And he finds a locked door with a diamond pattern on it, which it says he's been doodling this throughout the script, but there's literally one scene of him doodling diamonds on a piece of paper, and that's it. So yeah, and that's not great foreshadowing there.
No, because it could be about cards at that point.
Yeah, and so he breaks it open, descending a staircase, and he finds a room full of mutant babies and incubators, and even watches 2 doctors casually euthanize one when the tissue sample they take doesn't please them for whatever reason. And then Gambit confronts Essex in what's referred to as the birthing room, where he pulls a freshly grown mutant baby from the vat, and you get the idea that he's waiting for Gambit in that room, specifically to use the kid as like a human shield, but he's really casual about it. Like he's just holding it in his arm.
Yeah, it's super creepy in the way that still you're going to need the right kind of actor to do this part. But yeah, he has almost complete control over Gambit, and Gambit doesn't even know it as far as making him scared.
Yep, and so he talks about him. He explains to Gambit that, not every child he grows here, is good for, their genes don't always work for the drug, and so he can't just send them out into the world. That would expose his operation, so of course he has to kill them. And he's like, I can't send them out there with nothing but a lunchbox. Which admittedly, that line did kind of work for me a little bit.
No, I liked it. No, I thought it was simple.
And this is where he tells Gambit a story. Oh boy.
Oh, yeah. Let's dump some exposition!
Yeah. One of the first children in his program was one of his own, a weakling whom he didn't love and he didn't think would survive past his 4th year because there was something bad in his blood that he passed on. And he says he abandoned him by the swamp years ago, and now he has come home. Yes, Gambit is his son. Which is a twist which comes so late in the game and Gambit barely has any time to react to it that it doesn't mean anything and doesn't need to be here.
That. I hate this so much. It just goes against everything. It doesn't lead up to this at all.
I mean, it's not like it's not without foreshadowing, but it's all just like, ooh, Gambit's eyes change color. Ooh, he has a dark side. Ooh, there's a reference to bad blood, blah, 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 but that's about it.
You do it late in the 3rd act. I mean, kind of it's a 4-act movie, but you know what I mean.
And what's weird is that you could take that out and it wouldn't really change anything. Just have Gambit be one of his first breeding experiments or something.
Yeah. I killed your parent and you were one of the first. He would still say you're the devil.
Yeah, stuff like that. It raises the question. It raises the question: who are the 2 people in that picture with little young Gambit?
No clue. Order somebody that he did Sinister actually want to fuck with people so hard that he thought with the kind of foresight to do something like this to someone.
Yeah. It's very strange. But like I said, you could take this whole because he's basically says like, no, I am your father, and Gambit's like, that's not true. That's impossible.
But that's us reading.
And he says, now, Tiger, this is what's going to happen. Yeah, he calls Gambit Tiger. And he says, and he says, you're going to work for me now, and in return, I will teach you how to fully control your powers, or I'm going to turn you in for all your crimes. But Gambit attacks him anyways with his cards, but he gets subdued and slapped with adamantium cuffs by Essex's security.
Yeah, it happens real quick. It was a trap. It's a trap.
Yes, thanks, Akbar. And so it cuts back to the courtroom from the beginning as Gambit finishes telling his story, and we learn that he's on trial for the attempted murder of Essex. He then makes an impassioned speech accusing Essex of exploiting mutants, but he gets held in contempt and escorted to the holding cells. Essex then takes the stand and denies the truth of Gambit's story, and Gambit is found guilty and sentenced to 50 years in prison.
Oh, no!
Yeah, things are not looking good for Gambit.
No, this is really bad.
But, there's a twist in the tale again. While leaving the courthouse, a street kid hands Essex an envelope which contains headshots of the 2 lobby security guards and the bailiff, revealing them to be classically trained actors. He then gets a call saying that his house is being robbed, and a series of flashbacks.
Sorry, I love this part so much.
This part's great. Yeah, a series of flashbacks shows that Gambit's crew joined forces with the Boudreaux, now under Bella's leadership, and they briefly mentioned the Assassin's Guild again for some reason. But they come together to get him out, following Henri's plan. The fake security guards made a mold of Essex's keys, giving them access to his house. And then back in the present, Essex calls the compound to make sure they let no one in, but he's told that he himself just opened the gate. And we get another flashback, which shows that when he took the oath on the stand, his voice was recorded and his fingerprints were scanned by a device hidden in the Bible, and Mask made himself look like Essex using the prints in the recording to get into the compound, which then the Boudreaux then ransacked. So he gets fucked a second time.
Mm-hmm.
And then back to the courthouse, Essex is approached by a reporter named Chris Claremont.
I love that. That's awesome.
Little on the nose there, guys, but okay.
You think?
And so, he gets approached by a reporter who says hundreds of mutant kids turned up at the newspaper's door claiming to be from the compound. And so Essex brushes him off and confronts Gambit in his cell, still trying to threaten him, and he says, the worst line in the script, if I'm being honest, he says, if you think this cell can protect you, you have no idea how sinister I can be.
But it's the worst line ever, but it has the best right after.
Yeah, it has the best payoff right after that. And Gambit transforms into Mystique, slips the cuffs, and slides through the barred window, and then jumps into a car with Gambit and Henri, and she gets her one line in the movie, which would please a lot of people who don't like Jennifer Lawrence. She says, pay me.
It's so Mystique. This is so Gambit. This ending is so Gambit that this is as good as you could do with a Fox X-Men movie. This is as good as close as you can get to one of the stories without doing Logan.
Yeah. Now the only question I have is, when did they make the switch?
I can't. I don't know if it happened after. I don't know. I don't know when it would have happened. I feel like that would have had to happen before he went into the compound.
The switch would have had to have happened. It had to have happened in the courthouse because Gambit got captured at the compound, and they had the security guards at the courthouse were their actors, so it would have had to have been there because the Gambit on trial was definitely Mystique.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So they had time before the whole trial. It would have had to happen at the courthouse because they had that place completely locked down. That was all they're making. So it would have had to have happened when they got to the courthouse. Yeah. And then he was waiting outside.
Yep, and so they all head back to the Boudreaux compound where Gambit compliments Henri's plan, and he finally drops the drugs because he took the drugs because he wanted to be like Gambit. That's the idea we got earlier. And it also says he pulls out the engagement ring he stole from Marianne when he was a kid, and he says he gives it to Bella. And so we see Essex being harried by reporters outside the courthouse, and he gets one final call from Gambit before being left to his fate. And then the two crews then throw a massive dance party. It's described as a big Bollywood dance number, I think.
You got Channing Tatum. He's going to dance in this movie somewhere. Yeah, it says... especially when he's somebody like Gambit.
Yeah, it says, our movie ending in the last place we expect with a funky, ecstatic Bollywood-style dance party. It slams to black.
This is an ambitious-ass script. Ridiculous as that sounds, that's kind of an awesome ending to the movie.
Yeah, it is the most ambitious you would expect a Gambit movie to be, even more so than you would expect a Gambit movie to be. Like, again, I wouldn't know what to expect from a Gambit movie is the thing, but this is really good.
Well, you do a lot of double. There's a lot of posturing. There's a lot of Gambit being Gambit. There's a lot of thieving. This is kind of what you do. And you involve Sinister. Whether or not you do it in this way, you involve Sinister if you want your big bad for a Gambit.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, this was really, really good. And just recently, actually, if you fix those handful of problems we mentioned, like get rid of the Darth Vader twist because we don't need it. Make the revenge...
No, not at all.
Yeah, make the revenge more satisfying and just fix a couple of the tiny little issues here and there throughout it that we pointed out. And this would have been a damn good movie if Fox would have been willing to spend the money on it.
Yeah, and it seemed like they were kind of going for an R rating at some of this. I don't think it would have been.
It seemed the way it was written, it could very easily have been either R rated or like a very heavy PG-13.
Because there's a lot of F-bombs. Not just talking about just that, but there are a lot of F-bombs in this.
Yeah, there's a few.
more than a PG-13 would be able to handle. I think you're allowed your 1.
Yeah, but
or is it 2?
It honestly depends on the movie sometimes, because sometimes you can get away with 2, sometimes you can't.
Yeah, this is too violent, I feel like, to get away with it.
Yeah, possibly. But, as we found out earlier this year from Rupert Wyatt, the reason he walked away and why this version ended is because it was 10 weeks away from production, and then Fant 4 Stick came out and bombed spectacularly, and Fox decided they didn't want to spend this kind of money on it, on a movie that wasn't like a mainline X-Men movie or didn't have Hugh Jackman in it. So this got scuppered. And they also they didn't want to pay for a rewrite to bring it down to the budget they were more comfortable with. So that was a problem. So Rupert Wyatt left, and then Tatum went around to look for more directors. And damn shame, Fantastic Four seems to have really just sunk the ship for a lot of things.
It did, gun shy. And they were gun shy already in the production of Fantastic Four because of the fact that what they were doing to Trank by holding him back. And then it seems like after that, it was just a domino effect for Fox and their X-Men properties.
Yeah.
Their Marvel properties.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like that. And so that killed this version. And eventually, after talking to a bunch of other directors, they got Doug Liman on board, who the stuff he's done includes Swingers, The Bourne Identity, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and Edge of Tomorrow. So a decent enough filmography. There's a few turds in there like Jumper.
Yeah, but I mostly, particularly Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Edge of Tomorrow. Those are both solid movies.
And The Bourne Identity was my actual favorite Bourne movie, if I'm being honest. I know almost everybody says Ultimatum, but Identity was easily my favorite of the bunch.
Mine too. No, Identity's mine.
And so basically he got brought on board. They knew they were going to miss their October release date, and they kept pushing the release date back and production start back. And eventually Lyman left to go do Dark Universe, which that hasn't happened either, because he said he wasn't feeling the script for this one, which I can understand.
Yeah, totally. I can get bang.
And Zedemer at that point was still working on it. I believe they were working, Lyman, Tatum, and Zedemer were working together on revising the script at that point. But so
this was the third director. Lyman was the second.
Lyman was the second. We're going to get to the third in a second here. So basically, he went off to do his own thing. Tatum went off to do Logan Lucky with Soderbergh, and with the idea that he would finish that up and he would get right back to work on Gambit, and he did. And they were working on the script, and I'm not sure who was writing it at this point, but they were rewriting it, and supposedly it moved in a very different direction. It became it was described as being like a romantic comedy in tone and focusing more on the Gambit-Bella relationship. And who knows what that's like if we ever even get to read it. But the idea was to dial it back and give it more of its own unique tone and feel, the way they did with Deadpool and Logan.
Man, I don't know what they were going to do if they were going to do a romantic comedy. I've heard that too. And obviously it was going to happen at one point. But I feel like that's when, I don't know what was going on there. That's when Fox was just losing its mind and getting scared, I guess. Yeah,
and so they were approaching directors, and they eventually got Gore Verbinski in October of, I want to say 2017. Yeah, 2017. They hired on Gore Verbinski. He of the original Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy and The Lone Ranger, and also the Ring remake.
Yeah, he makes shit too long. It's way too long. He can't stop. He's got a problem with that. Some of his movies would have been a lot better if you'd cut the last 45 minutes off of almost every single one of them.
If you would cut 45 minutes out of the middle of the Lone Ranger, we'll cut the whole Lone Ranger movie out and just make the last 20 minutes a short film, and you got a great movie.
Yeah, no joke. That's what I mean. No, you don't have to cut the end off, but you've got to cut something out of there. It's just too much. He doesn't know how to trim.
Okay, and so he signed on, and they went to pre-production, and they started talking to actors, and Lizzie Kaplan was in talks to join the film as the female lead, so she was the new Bella Boudreaux after Léa Seydoux got dropped after Rupert Wyatt left.
Which also not bad.
Yeah, it's not
Missed
bad.
that one.
But then they were doing location scouting in New Orleans, and they were going to film in March 2018, but then Verbinski left because of a scheduling conflict, and then this this fell by the wayside again, and like it seemed like they were meeting with directors and it wasn't really going anywhere. And at one point Tatum was like, fuck it, I kind of just want to direct this movie myself now, which I totally understand that approach after all the shit that happened.
Yeah, and I can see where he's coming from too. If he's looking at this script over and over and over again, he realizes this is his vehicle. This is a good movie for him to make, and it would have been incredible. I still think there's a part of me that still thinks in the future, if they cast Gambit, Tatum could still come on board, especially after seeing Spider-Man Far From Home. No spoilers. I'm just saying.
I haven't seen
safety casting.
I haven't seen it yet.
All I can say is that there's safety in casting for Marvel. A better example than Far From Home is Endgame, where they casted a TV actor that played Jarvis to be Jarvis in the 60s scene, or the 70s scene.
Yeah.
So
they got
it can work.
They got the guy from Agent Carter.
Yeah, and it's fine. So I'm just saying, people can come in certain roles. Do you get a big person to come back like Tatum? I don't know. It's not been done like that yet. You just have these little things that happen.
Yep, and so like they were still redeveloping it, and Kinberg in October 2018 was talking about it, saying that it was very different from that they had changed from earlier plans, and he said that some of the heist elements remained due to Gambit still being a thief, but the focus would be a love story between Gambit and Belladonna, and he compared the new direction to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which he wrote, as well as the Philadelphia story and His Girl Friday.
Wow.
I can't picture that. Like, it's just such a weird mix.
I'm trying to, and it's a big mess in my head. I don't know.
I'd honestly have to read the later scripts just to even come close to an idea.
Yeah, that makes zero sense to me. I just can't picture it. Wow, it's strange.
And so, come 2019, the Disney Fox merger finally happens, and they're talking about how like all of the Fox Marvel projects basically come under review, and then in just this past May, it was confirmed that they officially canceled Gambit and just took it off the release schedule. So that covers that.
Yeah. So as far as we know, there will be no Gambit, even though Noah Hawley's Doom is still being talked about for some reason.
Yeah, who knows if they're actually going to do that.
Yeah, who knows?
So yeah, all of these projects, I think, and that's including the rumors about reshooting for New Mutants to include new actors to play X-Men characters in it, so who knows?
I don't know what's going to come of that. If that actually that has something to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just because it's been so long.
I doubt it. I think Disney is going to. I think they will release it. I just don't know if they're going to go out of their way to tie it into anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it wasn't cool and they waited and they kept pushing it back, I could see it because they dumped Phoenix. When the second they didn't put the advertising, kind of let it go. I mean, it's been left behind, and I don't know. New Mutants is a really weird thing it's a whole other. Yeah, it's really strange.
It's this really complicated thing, which could probably end up being its own episode down the line.
Yeah, I feel like that will probably.
So yeah, I think that covers
by the end of it.
I think that covers Gambit.
Oh yeah, no. I loved it. It's a good read. It was a lot of fun. It was very Gambit, and it's sad it didn't happen because it probably would have been the best X-Men movie besides Logan and Days of Future Past. Yeah,
it would have been a really good one, I think, if they would have made this, and if they would have just fixed those handful of problems, and you would have had a great movie on your hands.
Yeah, would have been fun.
And I just realized I completely forgot to do my plugs at the beginning of the episode again. Fuck.
Your plug, do a cut and record them, and then throw them at the front like a promo.
Yeah, like I did on the previous episode. I'll do that again.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so that was Gambit, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, guys, bye.
Later.